Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha, Om Shri Ganeshaya Namaha, Om Shri Saraswataya Namaha, Om Shri Guru Dattatreya Namaha, Om Shri Mahalakshmi Namaha, Gurur Brahma, Gurur Vishnu, Gurur Devo Maheshwaraha, Guru Sakshat Parabrahma, Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. So we are doing Shri Eknathi Bhagavad, chapter 2. We have completed verse 50 and the last subverse was 700. So the last we stopped at, having said these things, the sage Hari began to talk eagerly about the virtues by which the devotees are liked by God. So today the subject is going to be what are the virtues which are liked by, the God, Lord Hari of his devotees. So let us begin. Chapter 2, verse 51 and subverse, we begin from 701. He who does not feel proud in his body by reason of his birth, action, caste, status in life is the devotee liked by Hari. Ordinary people have a sense of identity with their body. If they receive the blessing of the Guru, the nature of his pride is transformed into the feeling that I am Narayana. This is extremely important. So what is the main verse talking about? He's saying, he who does not feel proud in his body by the reason of his birth, action, caste, status in life. So it doesn't matter whether you're born to a Brahmana or a Shudra. Nothing matters to the Divine Lord. What does matter is your devotion to the Lord. What does Krishna Bhagavan say in Bhagavad Gita? A woman, a Shudra, anybody, no caste creed is ever seen by the Lord Almighty. All he cares about is your devotion to him. It doesn't matter what is your status in life. In life is. You can be a Bill Gates, you can be a pauper. Both is immaterial. You can have $1 billion, $1 trillion, or you can be even having zero money. But all the Divine Lord looks into that devotee. Are you a devotee of the Lord? Do you have pride? Because pride is the one thing which doesn't agree in spiritual world. And we have learned so beautiful examples from Krishna Bhagavan's life. And most importantly, now my Guruji is doing the Srimad Bhagavatam. In that we are going to learn the most profound qualities of, what is the true devotee, the highest of the devotees, and what are the virtues that is important. Forget about Srimad Bhagavatam. Even in the scripture, he is going to give us in detail, because this is Uddhav Gita. Who's Krishna Bhagavan teaching to? Uddhava. It is the last message of Sri Krishna Bhagavan. And especially we are in the Kali Yuga. And what happens? A man gets very carried away to his body, lust, greed, all the 6 enemies of humankind comes and stands in front of him. It's very difficult for him to overcome because he's so attached to the body. The sense that I am somebody. Action, whatever the action he performs. Next is caste, status in life. People give a lot of importance to status. If you don't even have a good heart, if you don't even know what is being good, what is the meaning of love, what is status all about? Who cares about your money? See, money and everything is only given by the Divine Lord. Today you might have, tomorrow you might not have. Does it even matter? Today you are alive, tomorrow you might be dead and gone. But how you live matters a lot. That's a very important lesson. So let us understand. Ordinary people have a sense of identity with their body. If they receive the blessing of the Guru, the nature of his pride is transformed into the feeling that I am Narayana. This is an extremely important verse. What is being told here? He's saying, see, before you meet your Gurudev, you're just a nothing but a mere ordinary mortal. You think like every other human being, I have an ambition, I want to achieve this in my life, I want to become the richest, I need to have big bungalows, I need big cars. You have various kind of ambition in your life. And what is that one thing that drives you? Your desires. Desires are endless. You can have any kind of desire, all sorts of desires, which is going to make you go towards that object of, whatever the object that you want to achieve. And then most important, what happens? The identity with the body. No, I am this person. And the ego. The first important thing which a guru does when you meet him, destruction of that ego. He literally puts you under his feet, not in the literal sense, meaning it's an expression. Literally puts you under his feet to crush your ego. And will you be able to take it? It's not so easy to learn under the tutelage of a divine master, and that to Krishna Bhagavan. Because the ego is the one thing which is destroying your life and the lives of other people around you. And that ego, you don't know what it can do. It can even throw the God out, and for all you care, and you will walk out also. That's such a dangerous is the ego. So what does the guru do? If they receive the blessing of the guru, so when you come to the guru is giving a blessing. See, understand, every being gets an opportunity to meet a guru in some part of their life, some whatever, in so many lives, one opportunity God gives them. But to retain that opportunity and to evolve is only with that individual person. Nobody can walk that path for you. Please understand, spiritual world is your journey. God is to each his own. How you evolve is purely in your hands. Nobody can give you from outside. Support system is always given. But if you bring in your ego, it's your own destruction. So please stay away from ego. Ego is not good at all. The guru can only do so much. But getting into ego, you will destroy everything. So what is he saying? If they receive the blessing of the guru, the nature of his pride. See, the nature of his pride. This is a very important thing. The pride can be of two things. It can be, oh, I am the greatest, or I am the worstest. That is, I mean, no, like worstest, but I am the worst. So these two are also two extremes. See, the inflated ego is easy to puncture, but the deflated ego is very difficult to overcome. And it is destroying your own progress in life. Understand, whether it is in the material world or spiritual world. See, spiritual world, though, you can't even evolve because the ego is very strong. So what does my Guruji do? He always teaches his disciples and devotees first to be a good human being. First, you have to imbibe the sattva guna, the sattvic qualities, which is mentioned in Bhagavad Gita chapter 16, verse 1, 2, 3. That's the first step. So what he'll do is, he will give you the stories of the great sages, saints, the devotees, and he's constantly teaching you. And there is always a reminder, okay? So don't bring this pride, because this pride, which is a deflated ego, the pride of I am the worst, is the worst thing that you can ever have. And it is your own creation of mind. And please understand, this whole spiritual path is a journey. You have to evolve step by step. And if you have the privilege of this divine master, don't waste it bringing your ego, because you don't know how long it's going to be there. So value what you have, because this is a priceless, what you get is a priceless thing. So don't lose that privilege. Then the nature of his pride is transformed into the feeling that I am Narayana. This doesn't happen so easily. We're talking about the highest of the devotees. So this, you have to go 17, like my Guruji says, there are 3 stages in the spiritual development. First is 14 years, 14 plus years. Then the next level is 14 again, and the next. So minimum 30 plus years you have to live under the tutelage of the master to reach it. And it might not even happen in this life. It might take lifetimes to achieve it. It is not such a small thing. So when you have this privilege, don't destroy it. Then he knows that it is false to say that I am the body. It is true that I am Narayana. When this feeling is impressed again and again on the mind, the pride is merged into that feeling. How beautiful it is. What is he saying? He knows that it is false to say that I am the body. See, you have a knowledge, because every single day, what is the Guru teaching you? The Guruji teaches you, you are not the body, you are not the mind, you are not the senses. Why are you getting attached? The child is not yours, the husband of yours is not yours, the place is not yours. Nothing is yours in this world. The only reason you are existing is because of your karma. The only way you can redeem all your karma is by following the instructions of your Gurudev. Do exactly what he's asking you to do. Do not question him. But if you bring your mind, ego, everything that your mind is talking, all the maya it's creating for you deliberately, then what happens? You are regressing in the path. You're not even progressing. So how will the grace flow? You're shutting off the grace from coming in. So don't do that. So he knows that it is false to say that I am the body. You are not the body. It is true that I am Narayana. When this feeling is impressed again and again on the mind. So when this feeling is impressed again and again on the mind means what? Every single day, what is your Guruji teaching you? The same lesson. Continuously he's teaching you the same lesson. Last 24 years. This is the one lesson that he has been constantly teaching. Wearing himself out. Suffering for others. But how are you helping him? What are you doing for him? What service are you providing? How are you, caring for him? This is the one thing that has been there. I've been 17 years with him, and it's not a single word that has changed. And he relentlessly gives the same knowledge. No matter who comes, who goes, he'll always say, I am not interested into pandering to anybody. My door is open. People can come, people can go. Everybody comes into their ego. They'll cut their own leg and then walk out. It is your loss. It is not the loss of the Guru. The Guru puts his effort. My Guruji saves everybody. Understand this. He is not partial to anyone. Everybody is equal in his eyes, and he wears himself out. So kindly don't, discount that privilege that you have. You have to put effort to evolve. And when the feeling is impressed again and again on the mind, the pride is merged into that feeling. What happens? The pride gets merged. When the pride is merged with the feeling that I am Narayana, then that identity with your body doesn't exist, but your identity becomes with Narayana. I am that divinity. I am, Krishna Bhagwan. I am a part of Krishna Bhagwan. That oneness with Krishna Bhagwan comes about. But till that time, you have to put effort. It is not a joke. See, Krishna Bhagwan very clearly says, in Bhagavad Gita chapter 3, Arjuna, you are your own best friend and you are your own worst enemy. Who do you want to be? The choice is in your hands. Krishna Bhagwan are not going to, he's not going to move from that line. He's always going to teach you. But the choice of being good or bad rests with you only. You're your own best friend and you are your own worst enemy. Who do you want to be is the choice you have. So rising above is very important, not paying attention to ego. I was contemplating a very beautiful lesson. My Guruji's method of teaching is very unique. Nobody can understand. And it's not easy. Most important, it's about, the one lesson that he's constantly telling me is equanimity of mind. In the last class, in Srimad Bhagavatam, he taught a very beautiful verse from one of the chapters. And in that, we are learning the qualities of Krishna Bhagwan. And one of the most important quality is the power to control the anger. And most important word is equanimity of mind. So if I need to reach that state of where the Krishna Bhagwan is, the self-realization. My Guruji said, Rajma, your goal is to go to self-realization. The world can crumble around you. The world can do whatever it wants to do. But you have to think what is good for you. What is your well-being in. So you reaching self-realization matters the most. So always think about that. Why is the ego coming? So you have to overcome your ego. You have to overcome your anger. Control the anger. And what is the most important word? Equanimity of mind. He asked me, where is your equanimity of mind? It's a very valid question. So it is me who has to do the sadhana. It is in my hand to attain self-realization or throw everything that the effort, 17 years of effort, I can just chuck it in the gutters. So it is only my destruction. So the choice is in my hand. He is not going to do anything from outside. He is only going to give me the same knowledge. He said, here's the Bhagavad Gita. You know the Bhagavad Gita verse. So now you tell me, whatever the state you are in, is it something that you have to overcome or not? Yes. So that is itself is a practice. That is the sadhana we have to. So if that experiences don't come, how will you achieve that state? So equanimity of mind. Right now around me, this body's uncle passed away. There are a lot of things that's happening. And one thing my Guruji was very clear. People will talk all sorts of nonsensical things. So let them talk. You do not get involved in their talk. Don't even think about it. If somebody would have been in my place and had they listened to all those words, it would have definitely impacted a lot. That person might even go and fight with that other person. That's the world we are in. My Guruji's words, don't even bother, don't even think about it. You know what is the one magic thing that I do? I chant his mantra. At that time, I only take Krishna Bhagwan's name and that's magical. That is it. You don't need to do anything. I don't have to prove anything to anybody. My Lord knows. And once my Guruji said this something very beautiful. As a body, you have to do your duties perfectly. And he said, you don't need any acknowledgement from anybody to give you, you're the best daughter, you're this, you're that. Why does that acknowledgement is required? Because we are associating with the body. So the ego should not come there. You're doing it for Krishna Bhagwan. You're put in that place. It is your duty to do everything good to everybody. Whether somebody is nice to you or not nice to you, you cannot differentiate between anyone. And I will do. You know why? Because my Guruji, because the kind of sacrifices he's done, and for him, nothing that I do is equivalent to whatever he is doing for everybody in this world. No Guru Dakshina will be ever been equal to what he has given us. The knowledge, from the knowledge, taking care, to doing everything. Only Krishna Bhagwan can do this. No Guru Dakshina can ever give back. There's no return to anything that you can offer back to your Gurudev. The only thing is to live his lesson. And the Guru has to, say, okay, whatever I have put the effort, yes, I have my disciple and devotee who is able to live, and I can leave this body and go. That is the peace with which he has to go. That is all you can give him. Beyond that, there's nothing. There's a very beautiful verse. Every single day when I open the scripture, I'll read this. It's a reminder to me. Just looking at you, the world should understand the divinity of your Gurudev. Which means what? We represent him. So when we behave nicely, when we stand the words of Krishna Bhagwan, when the world looks at it, they should understand who our Guru is. Such is a life we have to live, and we have to earn him that name. So, the devotee becomes devoid of any pride when his identification with his body becomes attached to the feet of Hari. The sage Hari is describing the state of prideless consciousness as follows. This is a very important lesson now. So let us understand what is he saying. One of the signs of this state. So what is the state? The devotee becomes devoid of any pride when his identification with his body becomes attached to the feet of the Guru. So what does it mean? Or Lord Hari means what? So you don't identify yourself with this body. All you have to do is Krishna Arpanam. I am my Guru Dev's. This body is not mine. Nothing is mine. Why is this identification there? I am somebody. I am some great person. I need to achieve this. I need to do this. There's nothing. You just have to keep doing. My Guruji will always tell me, there is no age to learning. Rajma, you are going to be learning till eternity. And that's the most beautiful thing. Age is just to that body. And you know what? It's like a blip. You're going to live some 70, 80 years, and then you're going to die, and then you're going to come back. So your continuation is there. But what do we feel? Oh, this is the only life that we have. And the worst thing, the most important question that I asked my Gurudev is, when I saw that pictures of the dead body, the first question that came, why is it the person has to go through this kind of death? Is it because of the destiny, or is it because of the karma? My Guruji gave me a very beautiful explanation. You know what he said? When you're born, just before you're born also, you're already going to come with your death date. The date is fixed, and how you need to die means what? Whether you have to die on a road, whether you have to die in some aeroplane, you have to die in hospital, everything is already determined. But the level of pain and suffering depends on the individual. How you live in this world, how you behave in this world defines your death as well. The suffering in the last moment. So my Guruji will always say, be your good self, be your good self. And it is not just to just somebody who's nice to you, but even when somebody is very mean and not good to you, to them also you have to be your good self. You know why? Because we don't want to suffer. We have to be divine beings. The quality of divine being, or even a good human being, is to be your good self. And most importantly, what he said, this was actually a revelation to me. I did not understand. And I told my Guruji, now I understand what you mean by be your good self. It's not only your own suffering, but when you die and go, you're going to leave all the whatever that you have done is going to impact your family as well. Which means when I am nice, he said, see, you going towards the path of self-realization, releases this body's, whatever that uncle's Atma. It has a smooth passage, and not just him, a lot of people are associated. So it is in your hands, what you want to be. So my Guruji taught me this, and this was a very important lesson for me, that yes, no matter what, let the world behave however they want. Leave that ego, destroy that pride. That's what he's talking about. How do you become prideless? Prideless consciousness. How do you get that? And what is he saying? The devotee becomes devoid of any pride when his identification with his body becomes attached to the feet of their Guru or Lord Shri Krishna Bhagwan. So always surrender unto the lotus feet of your Gurudev. That's the only way out. And next, now he's going to describe what is the state of prideless consciousness. One of the signs of this state is that though the devotee is born He does not say that he is born. If a dog is made of gold, the gold cannot be the dog, though the shape is of the dog. So first thing is, he's not identifying himself with the body. So that takes a long drawn process. What are we learning here? It is about the highest devotee. Now that takes a really long time. It's not such an easy thing because constantly you need to have a reminder. Recently also my Guruji was saying, beautifully, Rajmal, keep chanting your Naam Japa. Don't forget even for a moment, which is what I do continuously. Whether I'm walking, I'm sleeping, I'm eating, I'm doing this constantly because I don't want my mind to think anything. That's the magical thing. When I wake up with the Naam Japa. I first, what is the first thing I look is my lotus feet of my Guruji. That is what I see in the morning when I wake up. It's right in front of my eyes. And then I do namaskar to him. Then I first come out and do my prayers. It's very important. So that is something you have to practice. And it's not enough because if somebody can get angry even after that, then I have to increase my sadhana. So my Guruji said, you need to do meditation. You need to keep chanting the name non-stop. Don't stop at all. Why is that? Why should you let your mind get affected? Then what happens to that knowledge of 17 years and experience? So that is where you see, it's not so easy to attain that state. And that too we are in the Kali Yuga. And what is the most important thing that comes to a person? Anger. And Krishna Bhagavan says, in all those, enemies, what does it describes? Anger is the doorway to hell. Number 2 is the desires. But number 1 is, anger is the doorway to hell. So do not get angry. Do not get provoked. Do not get angry even on provocation. So provocations can come from no rhyme or reason also. Your own mind is going to provoke you. Don't fall for that. Next is, so what is he saying? If a dog is made of gold, the gold cannot be the dog, though the shape is of the dog. It's like, we are all water bottles and in that the water is filled. So you cannot say that you're the bottle just because you're taken the shape of the bottle. You can't associate yourself with the bottle. You are that water, that ocean. That is all it is. Similarly, the best devotee does not feel proud about his birth. He continues the routine actions, but does not say that he is the doer. This is another very important lesson. What is he saying? Similarly, the best devotees does not feel proud about his birth. Have you seen many people say, oh, I am born from this family, I am associated with this. We take pride in that. There is nothing to be proud about your birth. Next is, he continues the routine actions. He continues to do whatever the duty, the actions he has to perform, being the best in that. But does not say that he is the doer. What does Krishna Bhagavan teach Arjuna in Bhagavad Gita? Relinquish the sense of doership and fruits to the attachment to the fruit of action. Don't ever say, I am the doer. The moment you say you are taking care, you are the doer, you associate yourself with the doership, understand all the karma sticks to you. God does it. Surrender everything. Everything happens by the will of the divine Lord. I just have to do my action, whatever that action might be. I don't have to have that sense of doership. Oh, I am the one who's doing. I am taking care of my parents. I am the best daughter. That is arrogance. Who are you? I told you many a time. This is a very beautiful story. Many years ago, my Gurudev said one very interesting thing. It was very in the initial stages when I was on the spiritual path. I came to him and I said, I'm taking care of my parents, my brother doesn't and all. I mean, it's just a way of talking. I do more. So, we have this ego. At that time, my Guruji asked me a very simple question. Oh, I didn't know you're greater than Krishna Bhagavan. You are taking care? I didn't know that. He just mockingly spoke like this. And at that moment, I realized, oh my God, yes, I am not the doer. I don't take care of anybody. God is the doer. Krishna Bhagavan, he says, I've put people like you in this universe to do my job. So my Guruji says, stop taking this credit. I am the doer. You are not the doer. The doer is the divine Lord. Don't take this ownership saying I am taking care. Who are you to take care? This entire universe belongs to me. Your parents also are my children. You are also my child. Everybody is my child. You're just being given a small job. Just do your duty by shutting your mouth. And that since that day, I'm not uttered I am taking care because I understood that lesson. So one must realize that God is the doer and he takes care of everybody. Everybody. Understand this. Then, though the sun is in the sky, when his rays pass through a magnifying glass and a point of fire is created, the sun is not affected by it. Similarly, the best devotee is non-doer, as though his body is performing all the actions. How beautiful. See, understand this. Who is saying? Krishna Bhagwan is saying, even though the best devotee is performing all the actions, he's a non-doer. Why? Because he's not going to take the credit. I am doing this, I am taking care of this, I am the one who's providing. Never ever will he acknowledge. The first word my Guruji will say if someone's coming and asking him something, I don't know, I don't have any knowledge. And who's talking? Krishna Bhagwan, the knowledge incarnate. And when somebody looks at him, they'll get very, the Maya, they get carried away, not in the positive sense. They get dejected, or they have an impression in the mind. Oh, look at this person, he's so normal, ordinary. Doesn't Krishna Bhagwan himself say, I behave like an ordinary mortal. Nobody can recognize me, even though I am the Lord Almighty. I live incognito. I show my Maya to the world. It's not so easy to see him. You might be living with him, yet you can't recognize who is he. And what is he saying? He's very clear. He's saying, similarly, the best devotee is a non-doer, as though his body is performing all actions. Your body is just sleepwalking. It's doing whatever the duty that is required of you. So why is this pride there? I am doing. The doer, relinquish the sense of doership. Don't have this sense of I am the doer, I am the greatest. You're not going to go anywhere. Next. It is by the sun as the primary cause by whose rays the magnifying glass creates fire. That fire may be used for kindling the sacrificial pit, or a forest fire may be created. The sun does not get burns. Similarly, the devotee is free, a non-doer. How beautiful. He's giving an example of a sun. What is he saying? The primary cause by whose rays the magnifying glass creates fire. And who is it? The sun. Okay, and then what is he saying? That fire may be used for kindling the sacrificial pit, or what happens? Or a forest fire may be created. The sun does not get the burns. Even though it's burning, the sun is not getting the burn. Similarly, this devotee is free. So the devotee who doesn't have the sense of doership, he's not taking any ownership to anything. He's free. And what is he? A non-doer. Even though he's performing all the actions, he is a non-doer. Next, the piece of iron is moved by a magnet, but the magnet is not affected. Similarly, this devotee is having no pride, and therefore he remains a non-doer. So this pride is a very important lesson. Today we are going to be doing everything about pride. And what is most important? The highest of the devotee is a non-doer. And what is he saying? That the devotee doesn't have any pride, and therefore he remains a non-doer. My Guruji will say, I don't do anything. When we go and acknowledge, I will say, thank you Guruji, you've saved us, you did this, you did that. But you know what he'll say? I've not done anything. Krishna Bhagwan himself will not acknowledge that he is doing anything, because he knows, though it is happening under his substratum, who's the doer? Maya is the doer, Prakriti is the doer. She's Mother Nature. Her job is to serve Krishna Bhagwan. That is what she comes for. And she always comes with him to serve his purpose. She takes care of him. Maya Devi is there. Everybody is around serving Krishna Bhagwan. Krishna Bhagwan by himself will not lift a finger. But when he takes an incarnation, he comes to set example, to show human beings how to be a good human being. Forget about being a divine being. Divine being is not such an easy thing. First, you have to become a good human being before you even go towards a divinity path. So that is what he comes to set an example and put people back on the path. Normally, the actions of the body take place because of the destiny. But if one says that he is the doer, those actions affect him. Here, the devotee remains without any pride because of his love for God. This is very, very beautiful. So what is he saying here? Normally, the actions of the body take place because of the destiny. See, no matter what actions you do in your life, the body is continuously performing those actions. And why is it happening? Because of your destiny. Whether you're getting married, you have a child, you're fighting with somebody, you have a problem with your bosses. Everything is happening for the because of your destiny. But please understand, when you're with the divine Lord or with your guru, when you're in the guru's ashram, none of those things are even applicable. When you come in our ashram with the grace of your master, with the grace of your Gurudev, you're only coming here to learn. That is the basic understanding one needs to have. You're coming here to learn. We are not like a normal human beings in the material world. We live a spiritual life. Our life is the way of life as described by Krishna Bhagwan. We follow very strict way. You know why? Because that is what will make us attain him. That is the sadhana we do. It's a very important thing for us to evolve. And myself, like my Guruji says, your goal has to be attaining your self-realization. That is the goal. Happens or not is not in my hands, because I just have to do my sadhana every single day, provided that is my goal, because I need to redeem myself and people associated with this body. That's the ultimate goal. And the most important goal is what? That's the number one purpose. That's the highest purpose of human birth. And what's the number two purpose? I'm here to serve God's mission. And whether I like it or not, I don't even have a choice to say I don't like it. You know what? It is his will. He's put me on this mission. This body has no choice per se. That's what he's saying. So when you surrender, you are just doing your swadharma, which is instructed by Krishna Bhagwan himself. And so what is he saying here? So normally the actions of the body take place because of the destiny. But if one says that he is the doer, those actions affect him. So when you have the sense of doership and ownership to everything, then that action affects you, which means what? You are going to be, all the karma is going to come to you. So be very careful. You're creating more and more and more and more karma. Here the devotee, so in case of the devotee, what happens? He remains without any pride because of his love for God. You know what he knows? My God has put this in my life. I am serving my Krishna Bhagwan. And that is all the thought he has. And he's doing for the love of God. He has nothing else. He doesn't have to show anything to anybody. He doesn't have to get some acknowledgements. He doesn't look for some, people praising him also. That is the highest devotee. But he's doing it for the love of the God, for the love of the Guru, not for anybody else. Understand this truth. Next, thus, while the actions of the body are going on, the devotee, because of his experience of the totality, remains a non-doer and does not take the burden on his head of having done or not done any work. This is very, very important. What is he saying? Thus, while the actions of the body are going on, the devotee, because of his experience of the totality. What does it mean? See, when you are in oneness with the divine Lord, you're completely merged in him. Your mind, body, senses, everything, your breath, everything is in oneness with the divine Lord. So your experience in totality is there. When you are having that kind of bhakti, that is the devotion, the devotee remains a non-doer and does not take the burden on his head of having done or not done any work. So whether you do any work or not do any work, that burden doesn't come on your head, because whatever God gives you, you're just simply doing it. Your body is performing that action, but you remain a non-doer, in whose case the highest of the devotee. And that is not an easy thing, because you're not taking any ownership to the actions that happens through your body. So God is the puppet here and you are that puppet. He's just moving your hands. But if you don't understand this truth and you think you have to do, you are the doer, then all the karma sticks to you. Then you are going to get all the burden on your head. He's very clear in saying. What happens? So he's saying, the devotee, because of his experience of totality, remains a non-doer and does not take the burden on his head of having done or not done any work. But in your case, what happens? If you have this identification, then all the burden is going to come on your head. If he is born as a Brahmin, he is not proud of his caste. For example, a crystal put upon the red powder appears to be red. But if the crystal is asked, it will not say that it is red. Beautiful example. So what is he saying? If he is born as a Brahmin, he is not proud of his caste. Have you seen many Brahmins saying, oh, I am Brahmin. I come from a Samaved. I come from Yajurved. Oh, we practice this. They have this pride of their being a Brahmin. So knowledge will never come. I was asking my Guruji once, I was saying, he said, when they recite all the Vedas, they kind of, they practice, they go to the Vedic school and they come. When they have this ego, when they say, oh, I'm a learned Pandit, I'm a learned Brahmin, I'm a scholar, and they recite with the pride, understand, no devotion, no God will stay there. And that knowledge even will not open up. And here is saying they have this ego that I am a Brahmin, and which means you are never going to listen to the instructions of your Gurudev. So that itself is a dangerous one, because who has got the pride? The Brahmins have a pride that they are from a Brahmin caste. And what is he saying? If he is born as a Brahmin, he is not proud of his caste in case of the highest devotee of the Divine Lord. So the man who has no pride about his body is also not proud of his caste. And a really knowledgeable devotee is not proud of his ashram. This is again very, very beautiful. What is he saying? He's saying the man who has no pride about the man who has no pride about his body is also not proud of his caste. So when you don't care about this body, meaning you're not so proud about it. Oh, I come from this caste. Many a time when this body will say, I'm a Kshatriya, my Guruji will always tease me. So I will say, I come from Kshatriya, what is Shivaji Maharaj's lineage? I'm a Kshatriya. So that is like a pride. If you talk about it, if you think that said, oh, I am some great. No. The body is given for a purpose. And this body has been chosen for a purpose. There's nothing to be proud about it. What is the thing that you need to be? What is the proud? I mean, it should not even have that proudness, but you should have this great, goodness or greatness to feel that, yes, I come from Golokam, or I come from Krishna Bhagwan's place. I am a devotee of the Lord. But that also not with pride, because that pride will also destroy the devotion. So my Guruji will always say that pride also should not exist in you. That yes, I am with Krishna Bhagwan. That itself is a bigger destruction. So never even have that proudness as well. So we have to just have, what is the most important thing to do? The highest devotee has humility and humbleness. They do not even open their mouth and say this. They don't even talk about it, but in their heart they just have love. They have the bhakti, the highest of the devotion that they have. And so what does he say? Okay, similarly, the man who has no pride about his body is also not proud of his caste. And a really knowledgeable devotee is not proud of his ashram. Means what? He's not even proud of that. He's just going on doing what he must do at that body. It's a given, whatever the ashrams are. He just goes on doing it. He's not proud about anything at all. Though he becomes a sannyasi by his body in the physical life, he does not say that he is a sannyasi or paramahamsa. An actor may play the role of a king in a drama and don royal robes, but he does not say that he is a king himself. Very beautiful. He's just doing a role. It's a play act. You're performing a role with that body. So you're not having any egos associated with that. Then similarly, the devotee does not become proud of his ashram, like that's what, varnashram or balashram, or his caste. He is not proud of anything at all. All he is bothered about, I am the devotee of the Lord. I just need to be in love. I need to be in oneness with him. I have to do whatever my Lord ordains me to do without being attached to anything. So that's what he says, right? Whether I have work or I am not doing any work, I don't even care. Whatever God gives me, I will just follow it. Next, there are many castes, high and low, but he does not say that any particular caste is his caste. This is like the river Ganga, which does not say that any particular town along its bank is its town from amongst all the villages and towns by its banks. Simple example. So what is he saying? He can be from any caste, high or low, it doesn't matter at all. Likewise, Ganga is flowing across the river banks. And she doesn't say the particular town is mine. Oh, I belong to this town. Oh, Haridwar is very favorite of mine. I believe I belong here. She doesn't own. She doesn't even take any acknowledgement. She's just flowing. Her job is to flow, purify those who, dip themselves in her. remove their, absolve of their sins. That's all she does. She's just a purifying agent. And what does she wait? Who does she wait for? She waits for the dip of the holy feet of the divine Lord, the gurus, the real master. She's awaiting eagerly. When will this divine being come and dip his holy feet in me? That's all she cares about. She doesn't bother about anything else. She doesn't even say, oh, this is my favorite town. This is the favorite bank, river bank. I like this place. She doesn't say any of those things. And she doesn't even believe in that ownership. That's what. It's just an example. Then, that's the devotees who are totally surrendered to God, are not proud of their births, actions, caste, ashram, or particular tribe, etc. They are also not proud of their bodies, that is the physical, the astral, the mental, or the causal bodies. Here is talking about the 5 bodies, the 5 sheets that we have. What is that is the physical, the astral, the mental, or the causal bodies. They're not proud about anything. And most important, the question arises here, whether they relinquish all these things totally. The answer is that they do not drop these things, but they do not take pride of any of these, though they are placed in these situations. This is the most beautiful verse. What is he saying? Very simple. The question that might arise, what is the question? Whether they relinquish all these things totally. No, they don't. So what do? The answer is that they do not drop these things, but they do not take pride of any of these things, though they are placed in these situations. So you might be put in any situation. Tomorrow you might be given a BMW. Tomorrow you might have a Rolls Royce. Tomorrow whatever you might have. You might be, staying in Interlaken in Switzerland. But doesn't matter to them. That's what he's saying. They don't take pride about any of those things. Whatever is being placed, whatever situation. And suddenly tomorrow you might be a pauper. You might have to be, begging outside a temple. That could be your condition. But nothing affects them. Why? Because they know the truth. Everything is the will of the divine Lord. So they don't associate themselves with the body. They completely give up the pride. They don't care about what they have, they don't have. Whatever is required, the divine Lord provides for them. That is the truth. They understand whatever is required by them. Krishna Bhagavan provides. Doesn't he say in Bhagavad Gita chapter 9 or 10, he says a very important verse. What does he say? I bring full security to my devotees and take care of all their needs. So if you're the devotee of the Lord, the highest of the devotee, he attends to your needs. He takes care of whatever your needs are. And most important, he brings full security. That is what he does. And what more do we need? So that with that understanding, one should give up all these attachments, associations. Understand, the answer is that they do not drop these things. They live in whatever has been provided to them. But how do they live? That is the most important thing. They do not take pride in any of those things or that are placed in their life. Or meaning they don't, okay, but they do not take the pride of any of these, though they are placed in these situations. No matter what situation that you might be put into, no matter what things you have or you don't have, they will not have any pride. That is what Sage Hari is telling who? King Janaka. So we'll stop at 717 and continue the same verse, that is chapter 2 verse 51 and subverse 718. We will continue tomorrow.
Recording stopped.
Thank you for joining Shri Eknathi Bhagavad Satsang. Have a good day and good evening to you all. God bless.
Thank you, Raj.